Welcome to Game Changers with Lisa Faulkner on Love 860 WAEC, Atlanta's inspirational talk radio. Lisa is a writer, producer, and innovative communicator with more than 20 years of experience. Join us as we connect you with inspiring experts and entrepreneurs from all walks of life. Your comments and questions are welcome during the broadcast. Call us live on the air at 404-355-8699. That's 404-355-8699. Now, here's Lisa Faulkner.
Hello, Game Changers. How are you? This is Game Changers with Lisa Faulkner, but we pulled the switch on you today. This is Dr. Greathouse. It's my pleasure to be in the studio with you again. I'm always delighted to come into the studio. These are exciting times for Game Changers. We keep going out, traveling everywhere, and I tell you, we keep meeting the most fantastic game changers of all times. And like everything that we do, we always find someone that's on the cutting edge, and we always dub them game changers because they're changing the game. They're changing the game in our society. They're changing the game in our cultural dynamic of what we're going through today. And I'm just so excited with the author that's joining me in the studio today, Miss Eartha Dunston. She is a Black Pearl Literary Excellence Award winner. And that is so exciting to me. She is the author, and before I give you her bio, she is the author of The Hair Adventures of Princess Lindsey Sidney. And before we get to her, I would just like to enlighten you a little bit and give you a little bit of her biographical sketch. And you're more than welcome to call into the studio to make your comments. We're at 404-355-8699. Again, it's Game Changers with Lisa Faulkner. But today I want to talk to you and spend a little time with Miss Eartha Dunston. She has been writing since she was a college freshman. She first realized her love for writing when one of her best friends secretly entered her into his fraternity poetry slam. She anxiously shared her writings publicly for the first time and received an overwhelming standing ovation. It was a pivotal moment for her, and she knew in that instant she would one day write professionally. Her educational background, coupled with becoming a mom, inspired her to begin writing about issues that affect children, such as positive self-image and losing a family member, like a matriarch, a patriarch of the family. Eartha is also researching and writing a resource book to aid in the effects of military deployment on small children. And I can really relate to that, Ms. Dunston, because I am a retired Army veteran, and I am a veteran of the Desert Storm era of the Gulf War. She also holds a master's degree in social work with a concentration in clinical studies from Virginia Commonwealth University and a Bachelor of Social Work from Alabama State University. Eartha enjoys traveling, encouraging others, through life obstacles, reading, and I have a blank here for some reason, I don't know, but she'll fill in this blank. We're just going to start with reading, and we'll let her do the rest because it's missing something here. But if you need additional information, you can call her, and she'll give you her information at the end of the show. But she's a pleasant person. I know that because I just met her this morning, and I'm grateful to be in her company today. So if you would, again, give a warm welcome to Miss Eartha Dunston.
Thank you,
Welcome
Dr.
to Game Changers with Lisa Faulkner.
Thank you, Dr. Greathouse. It's a pleasure to be here. I actually call Atlanta my second home. I actually frequent here a lot. I have a lot of family here, and actually lived here for a few months.
Really?
While working, yes, absolutely. So it's a pleasure to be back home.
Well, we have a lot of ground to cover, and I want to start with saying you and I have something in common. You currently reside in Pembroke Pines, is that correct?
Correct.
You have to tell me how you got there in your journeys and your adventures. I call them adventures because they're exciting times. And when we get to where we're going, sometimes we don't understand why we're routed that way. But when we get to where we're going, what we discover is, wow, it's beneficial for us. Even sometimes if it's a struggle or whatever, it always has a lesson, some sort of life lesson for us. So what I want to do today is, so I welcome you because I was born and raised in Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
And so we're neighbors. We actually have that in common. My family members are still there. I have 2 siblings there and a plethora of cousins that live there in that area. But what I want to talk to you today about is this fantastic book. And I want you, and I'll talk to you later about your alma mater and stuff. But what I want you to do is to give us an overview of who you are. I know I read your bio. And sometimes I think the biographical sketch doesn't, we have to extract certain things about our lives. But I like the warm, fuzzy stuff. I like people to hear your personality. So tell our listening audience what you would like them to take away from your interview today about who Eartha Dunston is.
Okay, well, first I can say that Eartha is I'm very down-to-earth person. I'm product of a single-family home, product of a small-town Alabama, born and raised. And one thing that I always had when times were rough is reading. I always had my books. I would always go to the library and I would always read. So I know the power of a book. So part of me writing is wanting to reach that little girl that was me, that didn't have much to look forward to, but she had her books and she saw other lifestyles and she saw that there was more and that she could be anything she wanted to be from the power of a book. So a book to me is more than words. I think a book, we don't realize the power that our words have, whether written or spoken. So I wanted to write inspirational things, especially for our children and for self-esteem and for things that will reach people or small children who may not have hope or who may have lower self-esteem, as I did at one point as a child. So I wanted this book, The Harry Adventures of Princess Lindsey Sidney, is actually pays tribute to little African-American girls who may have the kinky hair, who may have the straight hair, who may have the Afro puffs. But I want a little girl to look into this book and be inspired to know that she's beautiful, regardless of what mainstream media says, regardless of what maybe the most popular kid at school looks like. I want her to know that she's beautiful just the way God made her. So that was the inspiration behind my book. I noticed that when I would comb my daughter's hair, sometimes I'm not the best hair comber. That's not my strength. But when I told my daughter she was beautiful, she would always smile and she believed it and she looked in the mirror. And at some points, I can tell you her hair was a mess because I know I'm a first-time parent. I didn't know what I was doing. But when I noticed when I would speak to her and say, "You're so pretty, look at your kinky curly hair," she would stand in the mirror in the hallway as you would see the images in the book, and she would smile and she would pat her hair, and she thought she was beautiful because those were the words that were spoken to her. And so I wanted to do that for as many little other children as I could. So that was the inspiration. That's a little bit about the book and what inspired me to write it.
Well, one thing I want to say is I read the book. I actually read the book last evening, and I thought about the seed of inspiration that when something like this book is given and put in the hands of our children, we don't know how it's going to impact them later in life. So we try to always plant seeds of inspiration in our youth. Because, with us working with the Kidadah, the mentoring project, the Kidadah,
Yes.
Little Sister, the girls mentoring group out of Point South Elementary, what I've discovered is little things that you say and do actually impact them later. We have young ladies that started with Kidadah at the elementary level that went on, and now they are doing different things in society because they went on to college. They may have lived in an environment that may have said, she's not going to make it. She might be a statistic of some sort. I noticed you said you grew up in a little town in Alabama. Where was that?
It's actually Jackson, Alabama, very small, population of about probably a couple thousand at the most, if that.
Where is Jackson, Alabama located?
Jackson,
Tell me a big
south.
city.
It's south. It's south. It's about an hour, I would say an hour north of Mobile, Alabama.
Really?
Yes. So
Wow.
that was our nearest big city.
Was Mobile, Alabama.
Yes.
So So that explains how you ended up at your alma mater. Tell us. I was reading in your book, and you were. I want to quote you here. I don't want to misquote you. I want to quote what you said in your acknowledgments in your book. You said, "I often tell people Alabama State University was my first love." And then you go on to expound, and you said, "It is a place where I first learned the full depth of our history and of our innovative contributions to society that have conveniently been left out of traditional history books." Could you please expound on that for me?
Okay, well, first, it all comes from my background. Remember, I am in southern Alabama, very small town. Unfortunately, racism was very, very prevalent in that town. And, in my high school, the division between African American and whites, unfortunately, was very in your face. So, and of course, your teachers, your history books don't teach you your history. You have to remember this was at a time before the internet, before we had access to all the media and that we could learn and research a lot on our own. So we were taught what's in the history books, and that was it. But when I got to ASU, an African American college, and HBCU, we took those classes. We were taught our history. We were taught the things that were left out. So that has such an impact on me because it made me, for once, proud of who I am, proud to be a woman, proud to be an African-American woman, proud to be even from small-town Alabama because our ancestors, did great things under insurmountable, unimaginable circumstances.
Sure.
So it made me proud. It made me, and it just opened my eyes to who our people are. So that was my first, like I said, that was my first love, learning our history and researching more on my own. So that was how I always say it's my first love because it's the place where I could be me and not only learn about American history, but also our history as African Americans.
And so then it inspired you then
Absolutely.
to realize there was something great inside of you that you could share with somebody else. Because I'm thinking just how you basically you're reaching back into society, to the little girl. You got to talk about that for just a moment. The little girl that you would look in the mirror and you said at some point you suffered from low self-esteem. Would you like to articulate that for me a little bit and how you got from that place to where you are now?
I do think going to an HBCU had a lot to do with that because not only are you learning your own history along with American history, you're meeting people from all walks of life, not just that little small town where you're taught, whether consciously or subconsciously, that you are less than, where you're separated. You're talking, I graduated high school in 1995.
Okay.
That's really not that long ago.
Right.
But at a time where, and the last I asked is still that way, where everything that you did, because the faculty there was predominantly Caucasian, but the students were predominantly African American. When we did things in the high school, whereas class president or senior superlatives, where you have the king and the queen of the football court, we actually had a black one and a white one. Exactly.
Really?
Separated.
In 1995?
And actually, the last I asked, that is still going on to my knowledge, the last I asked. So we were separate. We were together, but still separated. And so you're taught that you're different.
Sounds like our nation today.
Yeah,
though, right?
You look at the cheerleading team and the football field, of course, full of African Americans. The cheerleading team, lily white. So I grew up around watching that, where we were taught that we were less than. Basically. And a lot of it, like I said, it's not overt, it's very subconscious, but you're watching that, you're living that. So I wanted to create an image for our little girls to say, hey, you are beautiful just the way God made you. You are beautiful, dark skin, light skin, long hair, straight hair, fuzzy hair, frizzy hair. This is who you are and you are beautiful. So I wanted to crown our little girls with their book.
So tell me, what do you think, or do you have an opinion about, and I have to say it because I've seen it, I've spent time in Europe and different geographical locations, even in the continental United States. What do you say about our sisterhood? We are all types of hues of color.
Absolutely.
But even in the sisterhood, there are issues with if you're a light-skinned sister, are a dark-skinned sister.
Absolutely.
Okay, you and I are in between. You know, we're that paper bag brown, as we would call it back in the day, right? Paper
Yes.
sack brown.
Absolutely.
So we fit in the middle. But what do you think culturally? Where did that come from? Did it start way back during the times of slavery? Do you think?
I actually do think it does stem from slavery because a lot of things were color coded. Like you would have the women who worked in the house. A lot of times they were the lighter skinned, the lighter hued people, whereas the ones who worked outside were the darker skinned. So it comes from generations of what we've been taught subconsciously, and unfortunately, we as our own still play into that.
Exactly.
We were taught that lighter is better. We are taught that. But what I can say is that I have noticed some changes. I mean, you look at some of the movie stars now, they're walking the red carpet, dark is dark in their natural hair tone.
That's
we
right.
are starting to see change. And so I'm very happy about that because we have a long way to go, but I am seeing change. We're on the covers of magazine in our darkest of dark hues and in our natural state. We have, the movies are being made and Hollywood is starting to recognize, at least to some small extent, that that's beauty still. So I see the change, but we do have a long way to go, and it has to start with us. We can't be the crab in the barrel for ourselves. We have to
Absolutely.
lift each other up. And I look at all the things that are going on in the media. The what's our little girl named? Gabby Douglas, the Olympics, where they're saying things about her hair. And I mean, it's just discouraging because a lot of that is coming from our own.
It's coming from
And
us.
that is the natural state. I think D.L. Hewley, I don't know if you've seen it, it's all over social media. He did an excellent piece on speaking to that, and that we can't keep doing this to ourselves. We have to do better.
Right.
We can't expect them to see us better if we're downing our own selves.
Exactly.
So it starts with us, and it has to continue with us.
Exactly, because when we look at the exterior, a lot of times, Gabby Douglas has done some tremendous things for our race, our culture, for our young girls growing
Absolutely.
up. She's an excellent role model, and as a result, people look and they want to target something in the
Exactly.
negative.
Exactly.
But you don't understand the circumstances. She's an athlete. Even if she permed her hair, right? She's so many hours a day. Guess what she's doing? On the bar, on the uneven stuff, doing all of this stuff. She's always practicing. And even with that, your hair is not going to be picturesque perfect every time.
It's not.
I'm not even doing half of what she does, athletically. But at the same time, I try to be mindful. But there are times, guess what? I'm in the gym. I come from the gym. I may have a baseball cap and a scarf around my head because I'm running errands. Why should I go home, put makeup on, right? And I have to go run to the supermarket and things like that. So,
Absolutely.
People are going to catch you, and you're not going to be picture perfect all the time. But we should focus on what we're doing with our lives and what we look like internally as opposed to externally.
Absolutely. And again, I think that we are subconsciously taught that straight is better. You see the magazine ads, you see the TV shows, you see the perm box. This is how you should look. Whereas that is not how, it's okay to have perm. I've had a perm. I'm natural now. I've been natural for over 15 years, but there was a point that I had a perm. But it's okay to have that, but don't down people who choose to stay how God made us naturally.
Absolutely.
That is my issue. We can't keep
Absolutely.
doing that.
My daughter and my granddaughter are natural. You follow me?
Absolutely.
That my daughter, she made a choice. Because she too is from an HBCU. She went through Clark Atlanta University, but she has her way of thinking, and I applaud it. I can't knock it. My granddaughter, she's in middle school, and the biggest thing, of course, is, I want to fit in. They're at that volatile age. I want to look like
Absolutely.
everybody else. I want to look pretty. And my granddaughter is you'll meet her at your book signing tonight.
Oh, wow, okay.
At Point South. I got to plug it. At Point South Elementary. You'll meet her tonight. But she's natural.
Absolutely.
And such a pretty girl. And I tell her, you don't have to be anybody else because you're perfect the way God made you.
Yeah.
You're a perfect you.
Absolutely. And we have to get away from the stereotypes because some people go natural. We're not necessarily militant or anything because we're natural. I went natural, honestly, as a student, a grad student, because I was broke and I couldn't afford to keep getting the perm. So, and my hair was naturally curly. I knew that. Mm-hmm. So I really just cut it down to cut costs and ended up falling in love with it. It had nothing to do with I despise perms or anything. It was circumstantial, and I ended up liking. I like the easy go. I like it in its natural state. So it was a matter of economics for me at that time, and I just happened to like it. So I
can relate to that because every 2 weeks I have to be with my stylist.
Absolutely,
and sometimes in between because I'm traveling, and to look glamorous is expensive.
Yes,
and you can look, and it's time consuming. But you can look glamorous and not have to do all of that.
Exactly, and that's where I was because I was interning full time, I was in school full time, and I was working 4 to midnights at a homeless shelter. So I didn't have time to sit at a salon, and it was cheaper. Mm-hmm. So, I'm not militant, but it's okay. It's okay to be natural. It's okay. If you have time, you want the perm, that's beautiful as well. We have to stop creating this among ourselves before we expect outside cultures to do the same.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree with that. Now let's get back to what I was noticing something here in the book. The book actually teaches not just about self-identity and being proud of who you are in your hair, but I see it also teaches days of the week.
Absolutely. That was purposeful.
And it also, this segment here where it rained at church, she started out right with her hair straight, but it rained at church. But what was so amazing is and the illustration, I must tell you, the illustration is phenomenal in this book.
Thank you.
Okay, and I'm going to let you spend time probably at the second half of the show to tell everyone where they can get the book, contact you, so you can come. I know you're going to spend time with the girls today, but I like the way you didn't show her as distraught.
Absolutely.
You see, her hair got wet and instantly went from straight to curly, and that happens to our hair.
Absolutely.
So tell me, though, in writing this, what were you feeling? Were you thinking about you? Were you thinking about your daughter? What were you really thinking about when you were writing these pages?
I was thinking of all of that. I was very conscious of many things, and I point those out to you. I was very conscious of what I wanted the little girls to think as they were reading the book. Purposely a plug for church. I made no excuses. I am a Christian, so I purposely started out at church. You also noticed something else. I made sure that the father was present.
Always.
Always, when they're at church, when they're reading, because that's an image that people don't portray. They will always see the single parent, which, of course it is in our society, but we have whole households as well. So I was very conscious of actually the tone of her skin, as you see, is in the middle. I didn't want her very light. I wanted to show color, and that's beautiful as well. I was very conscious of both parents being there. I wanted to create a positive image. And if you look closely, it was on a lot of the illustrations, I made sure that you can see the wedding band and the wedding ring, especially in the first image. I made sure that those things were in my illustration. That was very important to me because I wanted to show that we do have whole households.
We do, and I'm a product of a whole household.
Exactly, and I have a whole household. So.
I know we have to go on break for a moment, and we'll come back with Miss Dunston, but I'm a product of a whole household, but my daughter's a product of a single-parent household because her dad and I divorced when she was 2 years old.
Okay.
But we'll come back to our listening audience in just a moment. I hope you guys are enjoying this, and I also hope you're being empowered so you can inspire your children that they're great just the way they are.
Daughter of Destiny is what God calls the dynamic woman of God, Dr. Dee Greathouse.
Let me tell you something. My life is anything but normal. When the Father and the Son are at the helm of it, and my best friend, the Holy Spirit, is guiding me every step of the way.
Dr. Greathouse's uncommon journey of life has led her to succeed, survive, and accept God's fresh breath of life into her destiny and the lives of everyone she touches through the prophetic gospel and teachings of Dee Greathouse Ministries International.
When Jesus came to me in a vision and we were on the mountaintop, he said something to me that has resounded in my spirit for years. And he simply said this: I have blessed you so that you can bless many.
Dr. Greathouse will empower you to walk in the purpose God has for you. Now is your time to experience God's miracles taught in Dr. Greathouse's personalized Gold Faith Package. You'll receive Dr. Greathouse's inspiring CD message, Faith, the Antidote.
I want to talk to you for a moment about the supernatural faith, which is a gift of God.
Learn how the gift of faith given to Dr. Greathouse gave her a personal testimony and an amazing healing from illness. Your healing will begin too as you read line by line of how she was able to forgive and minister after an unimaginable tragedy. She shares it all in her pages of her highly acclaimed book, What About Me? And from Dr. Greathouse's private vault, you'll also receive 1 gram of fine gold to remind you, as God reminded Haggai, silver and gold are his, and with it, he grants the great gift of peace. Get the entire Gold Faith package today for your faith gift of $149.99 or for a gift of $14.99. Receive either the What About Me book or the CD message, Faith, the Antidote. Call 855-334-7316 or log on to dgreathouseministries.com for the Gold Faith package today. That's 855-334-7316 or log on to dgreathouseministries.com today.
Do you need someone with solid, expert communications experience to write your copy or your next press release? Then you need PenStar Communications. Let PenStar communicate your greatest potential with clear copy written for your business and marketing needs. Whether it's your next event or next campaign, PenStar Communications can write that for you. Visit penstar.org or call 404-828-0287 today.
Wake up and smile, 'cause it's been a while. It's been like a whole day since I stopped so you could hold me. This child awaits, strong in the faith. Lord, you are the refuge that I can't wait to get to, 'cause I can't let a day go, can't let a day go by without thanking you for the joy that you bring to my life. And there's something about the way your sun shines on my face. It's a love so true, I can never get enough of you. This feeling can't be wrong. I'm about to get my worship on. Take me away. It's a beautiful day. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a beautiful day. Yeah, yeah, yeah. When trouble seems to rain on my dreams, it's not a big deal. Let it wash all the bugs off my windshield, 'cause you're showing me that in you I'm free, and you're still the refuge that I've just got to get to. So I won't let a day go, won't let a day go by. So put the drop top down, turn it up, I'm ready to fly. And there's something about the way your sun shines on my face. It's a love so true, I can never get enough of you. This feeling can't be wrong. I'm about to get my worship on. Take me away. It's a beautiful day. sing about. There ain't no limitations to your amazing grace, your amazing grace. And there's something about the way your love shines on my face. Oh no, I can never get enough of you. This feeling can't be wrong. I'm about to get my worship on. I'm gonna sing.
Well, we're back, Game Changers. Again, this is Dr. Dee Greathouse sitting in for Lisa Faulkner. And I'm here in the studio live with Miss Eartha Dunston, the author of the children's book, again, The Hair Adventures of Princess Lindsey Sidney. And before the break, we were just getting to know Miss Dunston a little better. And as she and I were conversing, I decided I want to do something. Instead of me asking her questions, I want to, we can pick up a portion of the questions again with the book for a moment, because she told me something so interesting, that the character is actually a picture, the picture image of her daughter at 4 years old. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you said they could go on the website, your website.
Yes, the website is earthadunston.com. My name is EARTHADUNSTON.com. So you can see real pictures of my daughter there, what inspired the illustrations.
Amen. And I have to tell you, this book, now, you know, I buy children's books because I have grandchildren. 11, 9, 6, and 8 months. So I've been buying books since my daughter was little because I believe in inspiring reading. My daughter took her entire dining room and turned it into the reading room. So they have like all these books, and they have to take time every day and spend time reading. Because I just think, as you said at the outset, it's very important for children to read. It increases their vocabulary. They learn how to use context clues when they don't know the meaning of the word. They watch and see what's around the word, and then they can automatically figure out, hey, and you know, you don't learn your entire vocabulary in school.
Absolutely.
You may learn, maybe 40% of your vocabulary in the classroom. The remainder of it you learn outside of that. And my mom used to tell us as children, read. It stimulates you intellectually. Read. And my mom would always read novels and things like that for pleasure. Now, I'm not a pleasure reader. I read totally for information. I read to download data. That's what I do. But what I want to also is to say the illustration is tremendous.
Thank you.
I mean, he did an excellent job. I don't know if you want to give a shout out to your illustrator, but you can. But I just want you to, again, because you have different scenarios, if you would walk our audience through what you wrote, okay, because it's different segments of her life in here portrayed. And after that, then I'm going to sit back. I'm trying not to ask you any more questions. And what I'm going to do is I want to talk to you about the National Museum of African American History at the Smithsonian Institute, that you were there recently in Washington, D.C. I want to talk to you about your next book signing. What else? Your next book and the projected documentary that they want to do on you. Okay. But first, I want you to just briefly just give us a cursory review of your book for the audience so they'll know what they're going to go to your website. And I encourage you, please go purchase this, not just for your little one, but this game changer is making history. So I want you to go ahead and purchase the book on her website, and she'll give you that before she closes out. Okay. And you can also go on Amazon, correct?
Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com. It's actually in print and digital format. $3.99 for Nook or Kindle, $13.99 hardback.
All right.
Okay, but basically, my book is very simple, but I wrote it for ages 2 to 5 year olds. That was the game, that was the plan. However, I've had princesses as old as 80 years old, 72, 80 years old, purchasing my book because they said they didn't have this as kids. But basically what I did was I went back, and believe it or not, children's books are harder to write than adult content because you have to take your vocabulary back to elementary school or pre-K. I actually wrote this thinking from the perspective of a 4-year-old, based on my daughter at the time. And I basically just went through a week. What is the day in life like for a 4-year-old? What do they do on a day-to-day basis? So I just went through the days of the week, purposely, what event could take place on this day for a 4-year-old in the eyes of a 4-year-old. One day she goes to the grocery store with her mom and picks out chocolate ice cream bars, and she wears her princess crown. One day, she goes to the beach with her mom. One day she has a play day where they're playing dress up with dresses and princess crowns from their toy chest. So I just basically went back to a 4-year-old purposely chronological order for a week. And as these things are happening, different events happen to change her hairstyle. She gets wet, it gets fuzzy. She has ballet practice. Mom puts it back in a long plaited ponytail. Mom puts on a hat when she's going to the beach, and we in our culture, we're notorious for wearing our hats from little all the way to,
Sure.
you know about our Sunday hats, our baseball hats. That's us. So I did it from that perspective. And one day I do want to talk out that stands out, and I'm sure 99% of us can relate to this, and this is Saturday. I don't know about in your house, but I know that Saturday was always hair day. It's the day that you're going to hear the music playing in the background. You're going to have your shampoo, you're going to be over the sink or wherever getting your hair done, getting your hair straightened because you're getting ready for church the next morning. So Saturday in our house, you shampoo, you do your deep condition. So that was very important for me to highlight a day that we call hair day, and I talk about that a little bit in the book. And of course, Sunday when she's combing and getting ready for church. I purposely put those in the book for cultural purposes and something that a 4-year-old can relate to.
Sure.
Okay.
Even when I was reading it last evening, when I saw her with her head over the sink, oh man, it brought back so many memories of me, excuse me, Saturday, over the sink with my face in the sink. My granddaughter, same thing my daughter does,
Absolutely.
We always start culturally at home. Doing the hair at home. It's when we become adults we start going to the salon and and laying our heads back, but we start at the kitchen sink.
That's right, face forward. So that was very important for me to convey that image, and it was a challenge because I had to be very descriptive because, again, my illustrator, awesome, a guy by the name of Mike, he actually lives in India. We've never met face-to-face. So we did all of our communication by email. So we're having a language barrier. We're having a 9-hour time delay.
Sure.
So there was a lot of delay based on that. But he did an awesome job, and he was very, he really brought my description and my ideas to life. So I'm grateful.
That's amazing to me how he was able to capture the essence of what you put in your writings so perfectly.
Yes.
I mean, I can only imagine it was laborious, only because I'm looking at the details, even in her dress. And I get once you did the character, he had to be consistent because I noticed you showed the sides of her face.
Absolutely.
You show the frontal view of her face. You show her face in the sink. And to capture repetitively her face, her mom's face, her dad's face, that is so amazing. Me being an author, I understand the labor of love that goes into writing, and I keep telling. My granddaughter is a writer. That's why I'm so excited about her meeting you because I keep telling her she writes, and I was trying to get her to write children's book because then my publishing company can publish her books for her. But she's 11, so Nana may have to help her out a little bit. So now, let me say this. So you're in the process of writing your second book, right? Or is it finished already?
Actually, the second book is already written, and I'm under contract with a new illustrator I'm extremely excited about. His name is Tyrus Gaucher out of Chicago, Illinois. And if the name sounds familiar, he actually, he's an award winner as well. Recently saw some of his work in Essence Magazine, as a matter of fact. And he did the book Penny and the Magic Puff Balls. A lot of little girls have that book. It's the same illustrator. So we're under contract now for my second book called Grandma is Dancing in Heaven.
Okay.
A little bit about that book is, as she pointed out, I am a social worker. My love, I do have a heart for social work. So my background is in social work, and I meet and I've counseled so many kids that have lost a loved one in the household. And one common thing that I always see with these children is whenever I know I did. I grew up in the household with my grandmother. My great-grandmother was in the household with me. So you have that strong matriarch figure with you. And unfortunately, she passed. That is a lot of our story. And the parents and the adults are so busy preparing for the homegoing or taking care of the loved one while they're in their last days that we often forget the effect that it's having on the little children, because the parents are working, they're running around, they're taking care of all these responsibilities, and the children are often by the wayside. When I say by the wayside, meaning their feelings and how it's impacting them because they're so small. So I wanted to write a book for those children to help the parents dialogue with those children during that unfortunate time, and to use as a tool for grief, but from a happy perspective, teaching them to remember their legacy and all the good things they did together. So that's what the second book is about. Because
Isn't it true that sometimes the children, because they are unable to express, then all their emotions come inside, and then some of them shut down and they won't talk?
You'll see them shut down. You'll often see them acting out in the classroom. They may become a bully. They may become, their grades will get bad. They'll lose their focus. They won't pay attention in class. And sometimes it's delayed, which is why it's not identified as easily. Sometimes it'll be a year later and their behavior changes. So I just wanted to write a book to get parents and counselors or educators to dialogue with that with smaller children dealing with loss and grief.
Okay, so when do you anticipate the release?
The book will be out, I would say, around spring or summer of next year. Again, I just went under contract. We're starting the illustrations now. So I would I would say I'm aiming for spring or summer of next year.
Okay.
Yeah, because it takes a while.
Trust you me, I have 40 pages left to write of my second book, so I understand that.
Yes, and the illustrations is what takes the time, the back and forth and making sure your vision is relayed properly, and they do a lot of repainting or recreating the art, and I'm the kind, I don't want to rush it. I'd rather wait to get the best finished product. So
okay, so let me just ask you one inside thing. I understand it's based on probably your own experiences, so will your characters portray someone personal to you, or did you create a different character this time?
It will be a combination of me, people I've known, and common things that happen around that setting. So it will, of course, everything, and I often tell people, no matter what you say, a writer does write for themselves. So you will see a part of me in there because I've lived with my grandmother from birth until I think she died when I was 11 years old. So I know that pain. I know what that feels like as a kid.
Sure.
So, of course, I'm going to draw on that experience, but also the experience of others or kids I've counseled or friends, kids that have talked to me about these issues. So it'll be a combination of a little bit of everybody.
I can't wait to see that one and read it, because I know when I think about my childhood, right before my great-grandmother passed away, I spent the entire summer with her, knowing she was dying.
Wow. Yes.
You follow me? And to me, when I think about it, it should have been so traumatic, and I think it was, but I was in the fluidity of the moment. But it's etched still in my memory banks what I went through. And I remember when she died, and we went back to the hospital afterwards. I thought about it, and then I had images of her in the casket because I was trying to process this stuff. And I remember riding my bike, and I had something on from the funeral home, and I could smell it, and it was like she was with me. And that thing, but I didn't get to talk about it.
Right, exactly.
And so I can relate to that.
Exactly.
And I can even imagine if anything happened to me, as close as I am with my grandchildren, they're Nana. Every day they see me, if they saw me the day before, it's like they hadn't seen me in a long time. So I can see how that would be so therapeutic and beneficial.
Yes.
So, but I appreciate the gift that's in you. Now, I know we're running out of time.
Okay.
But what I want to talk about now is the National Museum of African American History at the Smithsonian Institute. You were there recently.
Absolutely.
Will you tell us about your experience?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Well, as she said, I traveled to Washington, D.C. for the opening of the National Museum of African American History at the Smithsonian. it was very important that I be there. Basically, it's because of who I am. It's because of growing up in Alabama. It's because of actually sitting on the steps of Dr. Martin Luther King, of actually meeting Rosa Parks. I've done those things. And so it was very important to me to be a part of history. As we're sitting under our first African-American president, of course, he spoke. It was just important. I can't really put it into words. But I knew I had to be there. I knew I had to be a part of that history, and I knew I wanted to see it with my own eyes. So I traveled there for that, and some good things came of that. I can't describe the feeling and the pride that you feel when you see John Lewis, Representative John Lewis, hugging President Barack Obama. That was, I was in tears to see that, to witness that, and to see all that he's done. Not only President Obama, but for like Representative John Lewis and all the people that came before we had our first African American president. To see the joy on their face, to see that their labor was not in vain, to see what they went through was not in vain. It does something to you. It makes you proud. It makes you want to reach for more. So that is what that did for me. And I actually was, the day before was actually even better, because I was actually across, just sitting under a tree across from the museum. They were prepping and getting the stage ready, and they were doing rehearsals. So I actually saw Stevie Wonder. The show, everything was the day before.
Wow.
I got it up close and personal. And I was actually approached at that time for a documentary, just cold approach by this team of this camera crew from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, who they're documenting what it means to be a part of this history. And they interviewed me on my ancestors and growing up in Alabama and what it meant for me to be there. So I'm looking forward to being a part of that. The documentary is coming out soon.
Okay.
I'll post it on my website.
Please do, so we can be privy to that as well.
Absolutely. So that will be posted on my website as well. So it was just eye-opening, very inspirational. I encourage anyone, what you make a priority is what happens in your life. And I encourage you, take your children, take your friends, get a group together, go and see that history, go and read about your history, because you're not going to find it in the books. We're better now because we have social media. We can look up a lot of these things on our own, but there's so much information and history there that is going to make you want to do better, that's going to make you proud of yourself.
Sure,
it's going to make you proud of who you are.
Sure.
Yeah.
I know one of my dear friends, she and her family are traveling, and they gave me an invitation. I can't remember when it is. I have to look at my calendar, but we're going to take a trip there.
Absolutely.
For that purpose. I'll actually probably in December, I'll be in the D.C. area, but I have to do some ministry work. But if I have an opportunity, I'll go then.
Absolutely.
Because I actually think it's important to, my grandchildren have spent time at the civil rights, different things of our times and era here, because this is a mecca.
Absolutely.
For the movement. They've been to the places, the King Center. They've been to Ebenezer. They've been to Dr. King's home. They've been to the Civil Rights Museum here. Those things are important to us identifying who we are. I often say, listen, God sent us here. The color of our skin is what he determined we would be. But in the bigger scheme of things, what we have come to miss is, of course, in the auspices of what God did. We are all one body. But we miss it because we start looking at our differences. And once we start looking at our differences, then we start finding fault.
Absolutely.
And once we start finding fault, we end up having conflict. You follow me? And I just so appreciate all the works that you are doing. I see ministry in a lot of things.
Wow.
I'm a minister, so I see ministry in a lot of things. And someone has to reach out to the millennials' children. You follow me? Because so much is happening. Our society is so volatile, so people's lives are volatile. And when you have that, people don't understand. Hatred begets hatred. If you want to wipe out hatred, you got to bring in love.
Absolutely.
Darkness begets darkness. And in order to get rid of darkness, you have to bring in light. And so when you bring in teachings and writings that inspire us from our youth, it helps our core. You know, you and I had to have been inspired from our parents because it made us, and I'll say this, I will proudly say, I know I'm a very decent human being. Aside from being a woman of God, just a good human being. And I can tell just by what you wrote and the things you have said, you're just a good human being already. But it all started in the nurturing of the home. And I'm a baby boomer. And I often tell fellow baby boomers, we were so busy trying to make things great for our children's lives that some of us miss parenting them properly.
Yes.
You see? So here's Generation X having children, and they're not properly equipped to raise children. And these children are growing up.
So true.
And they're growing up rebellious, you know, but we have to go back. I had a principal once say to me, he says, Dr. Greathouse, we have to remember, let the main thing remain the main thing. And human character and dignity, I think, are so very important. I think those things are very important. And okay, we have about 3 minutes left. I'm going to give you, all right, I'm going to let you talk us out give you 2 minutes so if you can say what you want to say. But I want you guys to know that you can connect with Miss Eartha Dunst. And you can connect, there's coloring pages, there's bonus material, and activities can be found on her website at earthadunston.com. And you can also write her at P.O. Box 245935, Hollywood, Florida 33024. And I want her to say something quickly before we go off the air. It's been my pleasure having you here. You're such an inspiration. You are an official game changer.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thanks for listening in today. Follow me, social media, Facebook, Eartha Dunston. My website, earthadunston.com. I'm on Twitter, Eartha Dunston, and Instagram, Eartha S. Dunston. So search my name. I'll be there. I look forward to hearing from you guys. The book can be purchased on Amazon.com and BarnesandNobles.com.
Hold on. Wait a minute. Jasmine is telling me I went ahead of myself. I got some more time. Are you kidding me? Okay, I apologize to our audience. I know I don't want to shortchange you. Guess what? We're going to go on another break.
Awesome.
We'll be right back.
The Sankofa Media Group is a mass media company that creates socially responsible, informative, and entertaining content that reaches audiences all over the world. Sankofa Media's leading-edge technology and know-how develops winners into who they were created to be. Timely radio and talent like Blog Talk Radio's Abiding the Tripartite.
God tells us in His Word we can have what we say, but we are always saying what we have. You must believe to the point of expectation, and you shall receive.
And Game Changers with Lisa Faulkner.
I want to talk to the game changers. I want to talk to the ones who the game was changed on, but yet they triumphed. I want to talk to the people who provide a platform for others to change the game for themselves.
Sankofa publishes messages of love, hope, and redemption that connect with us where we need it the most.
The book, What About Me, is a story of the kind of faith and courage that engages the reader to reflect personally and spiritually, especially in these uncertain times of today. It's a great thought-provoking page-turner.
If you're ready to step out of the boat and join the Sankofa Media Group in showcasing your God-given gifts and talents, contact us today at 855-334-7316. That's 855-334-7316.
Game Changers, we're back. I want to give Ms. Dunston a chance to say some closing comments. Again, she has a book signing coming up in the next, few weeks?
Yes.
Would you tell the listening audience where you will be and those type of things?
Well, my next book signing, besides tonight at Point South Elementary School, is actually in Washington, D.C. metro area at Bus Boys and Poets. Bus Boys and Poets is like a mixed-use facility of a restaurant, a bookstore. It's very unique. And it will be at the Bus Boys and Poets in Hyattsville, Maryland at 6 p.m. And so we're actually doing a live interview. We'll do a lecture, and then I'll have a book signing.
Okay, you have the dates for us?
November 6th,
Okay.
6 p.m.
November 6th at 6 p.m. So those of you who are in the D.C. area?
Yes, absolutely.
And what is the name of the facility again?
Bus Boys and Poets.
Now, you said something to me earlier off the air about Langston Hughes. What did you say?
Well, Bus Boys and Poets, I know it's an unusual name. It was actually named in honor of Langston Hughes because before Langston Hughes was a Harlem Renaissance writer, he was a bus boy. So they've done a great thing. They actually have about 4 or 5 of these Bus Boys and Poets in the D.C. metro area. They're very popular. They get a lot of media. Actually, President Obama actually signed some legislation there earlier this year. So I'm very, very excited about having the opportunity to sign there. Not only a place named after one of my idols, Langston Hughes, but a place that's also so great in our history and politics today. I'm very excited about that.
I'm excited as well that you're walking out your destiny.
Thank you.
And you are leaving a legacy of history for our future generations. I'm really appreciative of that. I think that that's something that game changers have in common. I live my life to serve. And when you serve, that's the best of all of us. So, game changers, I want to tell you, as we close out our show, again, it's been my esteemed pleasure to walk this day with you, Ms. Dunston.
I
thank you so much for the privilege of being able to get this book in the hands of my granddaughter who has natural hair. And my daughter, I'm sure she'll be pleased to see it. And I'll have one in my library at home as well. And as I travel, I'll probably take it with me so I can introduce it to some other people that I know, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
I believe we should support one another. But game changers, go out again and get the book, The Hair Adventures of Princess Lindsey Sidney by Eartha Dunston. Again, she's a Black Pearl Literary of Excellence Award winner. And it's important that we support each other because guess what? We're all inextricably linked together. What affects one affects the other. We'll see you next week. Lisa Faulkner should be back. Again, thank you for listening to Game Changers with Lisa Faulkner. I'm Dr. Dee Greathouse. Have a good evening.
Thank you for listening to Game Changers with Lisa Faulkner. For more details about anything discussed on the program, go online to www.penstar.org. That's PENSTAR.org. And be sure to follow Lisa on social media. On Facebook, look for Lisa M. Faulkner and follow Penn Star Lisa on Twitter and Instagram. And join us every week at this same time for Game Changers with Lisa Faulkner right here on Love 860 WAEC, Atlanta's inspirational talk radio.